What if it was safe to feel and cry? Even if it's by yourself, what if it was safe to be so angry and to feel so that you can get through a red alert part to the wisdom that you're supposed to find out? And how many people don't get to the lessons?
Today's guest is Joanna Horton McPherson, and we just had a really fun conversation. Joanna is a really amazing, she's been a professional actress. She's an incredible coach to entrepreneurs and helping them find their voice. She's done so many great things in so many different parts of the world, including Costa Rica with the reforesting program that she runs and all these things, which we didn't even really get into that. That stuff you can look up on our website, but we just had an extraordinary conversation about the unconscious mind and all these different things, even things about coaching in the coaching industry. But it was such a deep conversation, which I love. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you reach out to Joanna and learn more about the work that she's doing in the world. And her new book coming out that's being born. All of it is really exciting. So I really hope you enjoy this show. Would you go and just leave a review or like the show or share it out? This helps more people to reach the show. It helps people to reach these amazing guests and listen to a lot of this content, which when I re-listen to a lot of these interviews, I'm really blown away by some of the things the guests say, and I might listen to it more than once. And, we have different types of reels that I put out to listen to these nuggets of wisdom, but there's just so many archives of wisdom that come in these interviews. And I'm extremely grateful for myself to be able to bring on these extraordinary guests. So yeah, it'd be great if you can share out this episode, or don't, just listen and take it all in for yourself and be selfish. And because a lot of times being selfish is really just having self-respect for yourself. So whatever feels true for you, enjoy. Hey, Joanna, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And I'm excited because we recently met, and I think it was your team reached out to me, and then, because right now it's really weird. Like as a podcaster, I have a lot of like bots and stuff and AI reaching out and all this stuff that's not real, which is just super inauthentic. I understand that it needs to exist, but it's just like, I don't like it. But then your message was like, oh, it's very interesting. And then I clicked and went to your site and noticed that you have homes here in Costa Rica, and I'm in Costa Rica, and I was like, well, that's a good connection. Then I saw that you were on the path of recovery, and I was like, wow, okay, let's get on a call. And then we got on a call, and there was a lot of synergy. And then there were some other things that came up too that we're going to bring up today on the show. So I'm really excited to dive into your story, let people hear about the work you're doing, and just have a fun conversation.
I can't wait.
So yeah, what I'd like to start with my guests is let them know about your story. Your story is unique. Definitely no one I've interviewed has a story like yours. I'm really curious to dive into this deeper. So maybe you can just start where, like, the story, wherever your gut tells you to start, and then how did you get to be known as the person today in whatever shape and capacity you want to go?
I think I want to start with who I used to be, which was, you could call my friends when I was, 13 years old, the girls with low self-esteem club. I really did not think a lot of myself as a young person. One of the talks I give, because I'm a coach for women who speak and people, mission-driven speakers, I coach people to speak on stage because my path, as it turned out, I was on stage as a professional actor training for decades how to be in front of people and be comfortable. I would see other people do it when I was in, plays, even at 13. That was when it all started. I saw people open and real and trusting the space. And I always felt, not on stage and off, like I was pretending, like I was efforting my way to be what I felt I needed to be. And that was so hard because it brought up a lot of self-loathing for me, to feel like I wasn't doing something right. I wasn't right. And I knew there was more to that. So I kept showing up. I kept training. I learned how to meditate, because what I was noticing in myself whenever I would do theater in a play was how loud my voice of self-loathing was. And I just wanted to work with it. And meditating, I learned the value of sitting with that pain and tuning into it and hearing it, in order to ultimately befriend that in myself and be okay with that. And by really receiving myself, I transformed that pain into something wider than that, the bigger thing around pain, which is the feeling of compassion. During that time, I was on and off sober, because part of what self-loathing does is it wants you to modify how you are, change the moment, change yourself. And so alcohol was a very familiar way to do that. And I knew in my 20s, when I was drinking by myself, depressed, I knew that was happening. I knew my alcohol relationship was wrong, because I didn't have friends who had the same relationship. On the outside, it didn't look like I was, blacking out, drunk, DUIs, and I'm not judging anyone, but that's a bottom for people. And I was what you call high bottom drunk, where my level of dysfunction was really normal looking on the outside, but you can't see someone's self-loathing from the outside. You can't see it. So during the pandemic, you were just talking before we recorded about how the pandemic changed life for you, talking about you speaking. I had my second kid. I was starting a school. I newly came back from Costa Rica back to here to Arizona. My husband and I have businesses here, so we returned back for business purposes after having our first child in Costa Rica, doing nonprofit work in Costa Rica. The pandemic hits. I started drinking again and was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, where my immune system was eating my thyroid, which is your throat chakra, which is where your self-expression comes from. My best friend, who I did theater with at age 13, is now an addictions counselor. And she told me one day, "What do you think would happen if you stopped drinking again?" And I said, "But I don't want to." And I realized I didn't want to. And then I realized I have a choice, And that was when I stopped drinking, February 2nd, 2021. Yeah. For this most recent time. Anyway, so what I do now, Jesse, is I don't work with actors. During that time in my path, I'm just going to go back to my late 20s, I trained actors in the method I learned about working with yourself, and it changed people's lives, becoming more confident, trusting your gut, being present, changing your approach to how you talk to yourself. So now I do that with people who want to speak their message about their business. And 100xing your connections for sales. Having one conversation at the front of the room is far more effective than having 100 conversations individually. So I really work with people and their message and why they're there, and how what they do serves others, solves problems for them. But you're not going to convince them of that if you don't know why what you do works and why you do it. So I guess I can stop there. That's enough about my journey. You can see where I come from in that.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious. So you as a professional actress and the things that you were doing, one of the things that we talked about on the last conversation was you did theater because you didn't feel comfortable in your own skin. And I'm wondering maybe if you can expand on that. And, you also mentioned that like life is the acting and theater is what is real. So it's really interesting to think about that. So maybe you can expand upon that and what that really meant for you, that statement.
It still is true, Jesse. I mean, all of what we're doing is an illusion. What is real is that love is the center of everything, and how we show up in or outside of connecting with others, and what You know, the end of our life, we're not going to wish we made an extra $1 million. Like, that's like, there's some reason your legacy is where your heart is. We don't wonder how we would have spent more time in the office, or, you know, your empire that you're building. None of that really ultimately is the whole point of why we're here. We're here to feel fulfilled in our potential to connect and to make the most of this heart and its capacity to transform and love. And, you know, love is transforming. You asked about theater. And so what I didn't tell you is that partway, I was on stage doing a lot of Shakespeare at first. I went and toured with a group when I was a teenager in London with my Shakespeare group. And then I went to college, did theater education, and then after college started a theater nonprofit doing theater for social change. So pretty fast, my focus was around using this space of expression to help people tell their stories for a greater purpose. And then I went back and started studying professionally again. I went to that space in New York feeling like I knew a lot about theater, expecting to be skipped to the advanced stage of the studio. Like, I'm a seasoned actor, and I went there, and my teacher saw that I was pretty closed book. Like, I wasn't really here to learn. I wanted to learn, but I wanted to learn starting ahead of everyone else, basically. And she took me aside and she goes, Joanna, I know you have a lot of experience, but I wanted to see if you'd be willing to set aside everything you know to try something new. And I did. And that technique I studied, it's called the Meisner emotional honesty technique of acting. And this conservatory was this 3 or 4 year program, depending on how fast you go. I did the whole thing, and I ended up teaching there, and then I started my studio using that method. The whole thing about acting is it's not pretending. The actor's job is to have a real experience. Because when you watch movies and TV, it's got to be believable because they're really having a moment. And the training, people are like, oh, you're an actor. Are you pretending right now? I always, for years, have had to explain this technique that I've studied, similar to method acting, which people know, where you live in the character to be real. In Sanford Meisner's technique, you can use the power of your imagination to dream up, like worry, fantasy. The brain cannot perceive the difference between what is real and perceived. It's the magic of our mind. It cannot perceive a difference between what is suggested, because real and perceived are the same in the brain. So you use that to generate yourself into a state. And so we're doing this all the time in real life, right, Jesse? We always are putting ourselves in states. We're just not conscious of it. So if we can be conscious of the states we choose to be in, now you have something. So that's how professional acting has turned into something I use in real life, is what state you want to be in front of an audience, what state you want to be in your business. It gets to a lot of that mindset stuff people talk about, but I think it's more useful. My training is in the emotional system, how you access subconscious to make it intentional.
Yeah, it sounds like almost a way to regulate your nervous system, because you can, I think a lot of people are reacting in life. There's a lot happening. There's stress. There's just a lot of triggers that are happening, especially now. And I think, maybe being able to, what I'm hearing is having this ability to act more of like choose. You're choosing, where the nervous system, oftentimes you don't have a choice. It's sort of just embedded in you because of patterning of the way you got love as a child, the way you ended up just forming these attachments, and then you respond. But what sounds like with what you learned is you could actually have that moment of pause, because you're sort of allowing yourself to choose how you're going to respond emotionally. And many athletes, entrepreneurs, successful people, they visualize, and there's the reticular activating system, and then you can actually see yourself in those moments of success, moments of victory, before you were there, and your brain doesn't know the difference, right? So you're replaying and playing and playing, and it's not to live in a fantasy. It's to live in like, oh, these are the emotions I'm going to feel when this happens. And the brain doesn't know the difference. So,
you know, it's so true. That is the professional method of speaking preparation. You have to use visualization. As we just mentioned, the power of the mind is almighty, and we've got to harness it in a more very efficient way. What my favorite thing to help people understand about speaking, it can be a natural state to be in front of thousands of faces and relaxed and open, and knowing you're actually standing in your purpose in that moment to share a message is your most natural state. But we've got to get ourselves up to the point to feel that that's natural, because what you just pointed out is, I think this is a huge area of misconception on mindset work. I see it all the time in the coaching field. You probably have seen this too. What is the difference between choosing a state of being in resistance to what really is, which is forcing yourself and feels like you're shoving yourself into a little compartment, versus first doing the work of feeling the entire situation as it really is, and then consciously choosing from there. It's not different on the outside, but the inner experience of choosing something with intention after having done the work of understanding what's operating in you is so much more powerful than avoiding the emotions. And there's a lot of people who are bullshitters and bullshit artists, and I am grateful I don't really find myself in touch with them in general, but you see it in the field. And a lot of us out who work with clients are so susceptible to being hoodwinked and like tricked by people who don't actually know how to do intentional transformative work in themselves, but they talk about it and it sounds good. And it's like, all right, I'll do that. But this is the difference. Underneath the surface of conscious choosing another state of being, you're either in resistance to what is and you're not dealing, and you're just pretending and faking some more, and your life will not be changed. It's going to be more of the same day, every day. Or under the surface, you are feeling what is, and you're willing to hear and sit with what it may be painful in order to let it inform you with what wants to happen in your life as a whole, as a person. I mean, with sober people, we know there's pain there. We've had to sit with it. So there's a level of work we've had to do, but it never stops. I'm working my TEDx talk right now, and I'm trying to find a way to talk about pain in a way that's useful for people and doesn't sound like I'm bullshitting them. Life transformation really comes down to how we relate to pain. Because there's a good pain of challenge, pain of feeling something and having compassion and evolving from it, pain of failure and picking yourself back up. Good pain that leads to growth. That's good pain. Bad pain is pain of resisting, of avoiding yourself, of avoiding truth, of trying to constantly get out of something that keeps pulling you back in, and not wanting to turn inward and see what's working inside of you, because we're afraid that we can't deal with it. We're afraid of something. We're afraid to find out we're actually terrible people and we can't do anything and we're failures. If we look inside and are willing to hear that voice, it's the fear of fear that has us stuck. It's not real. Like you said, the stuff we came through when we were little, that's what's at work. We're afraid that it's true, but if we're willing to feel that, what's in there is a human who like has something to share, and that's work worth doing.
yeah, for sure. You made me think of a saying I used to hear, and then I don't like it. It's fake it till you make it. Like, I don't like that, because I understand why it's there, because, the journey of the nervous system for traumatized people or PTSD, it's a really, really challenging world. And so I get like fake it until you make it. Yep. But eventually that fake it till you make it is going to turn on you because you're never actually getting to these patterns and attachments and styles that you have that you develop to get love as a child. And then that's going to backfire because you're going to get into a relationship, an intimate relationship, a business relationship, and it's going to be disaster. And I know this firsthand. I've experienced it. So
Me too.
it's just like so much shitty advice that comes through, especially in the recovery world. That's where I heard it. So to be able to actually feel your feelings, do the deeper work, come through, like you said, the pain. Like, why do I have this pain? Because you know what ends up happening? You end up having dreams. You will have dreams that will show you what you're not doing. And then you won't talk about your dreams because you're like, oh, that's just a dream. But it's like the dream is showing you the exact thing you haven't dealt with. The dream is there to be showing you what you didn't do at 17, 25, 12. And it's giving you an opportunity in the subconscious, right, to say, okay, now I can do something here. So it doesn't matter if you ignore it. It's going to come up in the dreams. It's going to come up in the subconscious. It's going to come up in a conversation. It's going to come up in your embarrassment and your uncomfortability. It's there. And like, that's what I'm hearing is like,
That is so wild. Yes. I had a
yeah,
dream. You're talking about dreams. This is not apropos of anything, but we're in a real conversation. So I don't often remember my dreams. And I know in the Jungian world of working the subconscious and symbolism and archetypes, dreams matter for the reason you just said. I remembered two dreams last night. One, our cat was killed 2 weeks ago. And this was this very special little being. He was like a dog. He slept in the bed, under the covers, head on the pillow. Really a unique character, killed. I dreamt that he came back with another cat, but he was old and like kind of morphed, but it was him. I don't know what this means, right? And then I had another dream, which is deeper. I did not continue. What I didn't tell you about my path in professional acting is that I didn't believe in myself. And I didn't pursue the dreams I had and my visions in my mind, moving to Los Angeles, working with my coach there, because I didn't believe. I had listened to, oh, it's such a competitive market. It's going to be hard to break through. Everyone wants to be an actor. Are you sure you can do it? I took it in like it was water. And I backed off my dream. And I ended up opening a studio because the next best thing to do, but secretly my heart was really in seeing people come alive this way. So I guess I was meant to do that in a way. And honestly, I now am grateful to see the failure in myself to believe, because it served my life so much to know that was a lesson I had to learn, to believe in myself. So now I get to do that now. And that's why my business is going in the direction it's going, because I'm not afraid to find out that I can't do it, or, I don't have that. I don't drink any of that bullshit anymore. Like, you can't do it. The market, of course, those are things are true. Of course, those are true. But in the mindset that I choose to live in, I can't think of a reason to believe I can go any less than my fullest possibilities. Why would I believe anything less? If it's possible for anyone to make the most of themselves, why would I choose to put a limit to that?
yeah, exactly. It's a powerful lesson that I think I've discovered that people do that because they're comfortable with the version of you now, and they're not comfortable with the version of you you're becoming. So they're going to keep you stuck in that little mindset that you are growing out of so that they don't feel uncomfortable around you. And so it's a really challenging, like you said, you got sober in February of 2021. Well, in February of 2021, I released my second book that was about my story of addiction recovery because I needed to get it out of me. It wasn't just because of like a legacy. It's just like I needed to get it out because I knew something was coming and ready to be born. And so I released that book. And then a few months later, I get into psychedelic assisted therapy, which is insane from the world. I'm coming from 15 years abstinence sobriety, all into 12 steps, all into the thinking, all into, 100% abstinence. And now I'm going into psychedelic assisted therapy after years of research, but I'm about to honor the calling in myself. And if I went to the actual people around me, they don't want me to do that, because it's like, we like you, just the Jesse now. If you go there, we'll be uncomfortable. So now they don't say that, that's the unconscious, but so that's, like you said, you had to do that so that you can learn, like, oh, I really can't fail. I really can't fail. It's
Oh,
it's not that's an illusion. But the people around me will say, just unconsciously, oh no, don't do that. No, that's over. Don't, and even though there's something waiting to be born that you don't even know what it is exactly, right? It's the unknown, but there's something there. And I think COVID was a portal for many people to be reborn in some ways, to have an experience that changed the direction of their life in such a way that it's almost like they open up a different dimension.
oh my God. So much wisdom in this. I love for you that you're going to speak the truth about psychedelics transforming. I am also a person who am a practitioner of psychedelics. I'm a microdoser of psilocybin. We talked about my journey in
I
Bufo,
want to hear about
DMT.
that Bufo
Yeah,
journey, but
but we're made of the same. I was just talking to my naturopathic doctor yesterday about this. She was like, she's a microdoser and a doser. She's like, that's part of her practice. Okay. And she heals people. She healed me of that autoimmune disease. I was eating a donut when she called me and said, you have an autoimmune disease. I was eating a donut. And then she said, you can heal this, but it has to be through food and healing your gut. Do you want to do it? And that 4 years, 5 years later, she didn't even, this last call, she's like, we're not even going to bother testing your blood. You've been in remission for so long. I've healed it. How does this stuff happen? Healers know the power of medicine. This is something that won't be discussed it's not popular to say that. But those of us who have done the inner journey and are still on it of understanding what healing looks like and feels like, our dendrites of our neural system mirror that of this mycelium in the forest floor of mushrooms, the mushroom network that goes across the planet Earth. This community of mushrooms connecting are not plants and they're not humans. But we're made of this, right? So mushrooms have a powerful way of using the human system to heal us. So what you just said about people and their naysaying, something I tell my clients that I cannot repeat it often enough is when you realize you are not for everyone. And in fact, who you're for may be changing. Everything changes because suddenly we realize we're facing the wrong people. I love you all. I love the people who told me I wasn't going to make it, but I'm actually not for you. I'm for the people who are here to make it, to become, and to change. And so when it comes to being a speaker and sharing your message, something that people always say is, well, I don't know, because everyone's like, people said this before. And, I'm not sure if I really am an expert in this field. And I say, look, you have knowledge and expertise in your field, whatever extent or level, there's something, big or small, doesn't matter. Truth is truth. When you center on that and you connect your personal journey in your life with why you had to figure this out, how you professionally and personally came to this truth and came into it yourself, your job now is to turn and face the people who need to hear this in the world. You're for them. And there are people who will always question, doubt, throw all that limiting belief at you. But once you turn away and don't address them and address the ones who need you, everything changes. That's the path that will change lives and helps businesses grow. And that's just what we're here for.
yeah, because you never know too who's listening, right? Like, I love that. You never know who's listening. So like when you're kind of like no, I want to go this way. And you start doing it instead of thinking about it, writing it down, planning it. You just do it. You start to, the people that you didn't even know were out there start to be like, whoa, thank you for what you're doing. And you're just like, wow, because you realize, oh, this is the path. Like this is the way I want to go. And you start to have those, people that now that where you are, you're reaching those people, which might be from your past. They come back and go, oh my God, thank you for doing that podcast. I've been listening since day one. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't know who was listening. And you just, got to go and do it. And like, and I think like, if you don't do it, like I said about the dreams, like it's going to keep coming up in different ways. Like it's going to pop up over here. It's going to be on a fortune cookie. It's going to be in the shape of the stars. It doesn't matter. It's going to keep coming back until you do it. And that was me in the podcast. 5 years. I thought about it, 5 years over and over. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then I started interviewing people before the podcast being like, oh, you'd be a great guest. And they're like, oh, I can't wait to come on the show. Nope. Didn't do it. Then I did MDMA session, an MDMA assisted therapy session with 2 incredible guides. And as soon as I went deep into my, let's just say like higher self or whatever you want to call that, it just was there. It was like, you have to do this now. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like I didn't have to do drugs to be able to do or have that thought. But that was like the final initiation. It was like, you have to do this. And I came out of that and I went home. I had journaled and I said, it's going to start. And, I had some catalysts that were like, hey, didn't you say you were going to do the podcast this week? And I'm like, oh, yep, here we go. Boom. And then I did it. And it was messy and I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have all the right tools, but I had everything I needed to get started. And now you're on my show. We're 60 something episodes in. And just like your speaking and coaching and business and things that are happening are just accelerating, that's what's alive for me. It's just taking off in its own way. And instead of pushing and forcing other areas of my life that are now want to go to rest, I'm just following this excitement. What inspires me, like you said, I think in one of your blogs I read, it was, following, or a quote you had about, you know, if you're not inspired, you're not inspiring others. Like if I'm not excited about something, if I'm like, oh, I got to write that book and you just keep talking about it, it's depressing to hear. Stop talking about it. Like do something else that you're inspired by, run towards that
Absolutely.
excitement. So
Totally.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a really, I mean, it gets to things like vibration. I know you know what that means. What emotional level you choose to operate. Look, we're going to meet our minimum tolerance for any given thing. The minimum tolerance for inner fulfillment, fulfillment of your potential, minimum tolerance of connection, minimum tolerance of being present in this moment. But if we raise our tolerance, like I want to be fully present, I want to feel fully fulfilled and know that I'm going to leave with an empty tank. I'm not leaving anything on the table. I'm going to sing all the songs I have in my heart by the time I leave this earth, have maximum connection to really know how to love as unconditionally as I know. Like to live into your higher self as much as we can is so fulfilling. I have to just tell you this dream because you keep talking about dreams and I didn't share the second one with you. I had in my vision board at one point to work with Meryl Streep, Bradley Cooper. Now my vision board has Oprah, Brene Brown, some of my figures in the women leadership field, Melinda Gates, Michelle Obama. I'm like, these are icons of mission, purpose, voice, helping others with their success, things I believe in. This dream last night, I was going to an audition for West Side Story, which is one of my favorite musicals. I was never in a musical. I love to sing, but I am not a musical theater person. So, but I was going to, I knew I had the part. And Robert De Niro was at the door and he's like, hey, Joanna, here, come in. So I came in and I didn't know where to go. And I walk into this audition room and I've been in hundreds of audition rooms. And in this room, the producer's like, oh, Joanna, come on. And then they told me the part I was going to have. And then I'm on the phone with James Franco. And in my dream, all of this was normal. I don't necessarily think any of that is what my destiny is. But when we talk about the subconscious mind and what's a natural state of expansion, and I talked about this in front of a room and a stage in front of millions of people, thousands of faces here to hear your message, that being a natural state, it just spoke to my dream that amazing things can happen to you. And that just confirmed that. I mean, I know this to be true. It's what we decide to be about, what vibration we choose to resonate in, what truth we accept is the reality we end up creating. And that's true every moment. You talk about COVID being a portal, this present moment's a portal too. And we can become part of a different reality depending on what we choose to focus on in our mind. We enter different realities, hell realms,
Mhm.
heaven realms. It's all, this present moment is the portal for that.
Yeah, it's interesting how the dreams and kind of the Carl Jung stuff is coming up. And obviously, I didn't plan on talking about that. So, but I do want to say this quote that many people have heard, but it came up yesterday a lot and it's coming up now. But Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So,
So good.
I think like that is saying a lot about what we've been talking about. And I think Carl Jung was one of those like Nikola Tesla. Like he was like he was like in a time machine. He was way ahead of his time and the things he said and understood. And even that quote is still talked about today all the time, like because that's what we're discovering, right? As we get deeper into studying psychedelics and studying the mind, we're just kind of like infants in that science, even though there's a lot of tribes and many ancient wisdom traditions already understand this stuff. The science is starting to catch up to this, that we're really ruled by the unconscious. So if the present moment is a portal, we're living in a portal that we're creating from the unconscious instead of what's happening in front of us. And that's sad. And guess what AI is trying to do in social media and the algorithms? They're stealing the portal because they're stealing your attention. And that's what their $1 trillion of money is doing, is stealing your attention instead of focusing on the moment. And I want to get into this with you because there's people who meditate, and then there's people like you who literally spend a lifetime in meditation. And so I want to talk about stealing your present moment attention is everything. It's like the marketing, it's everything is trying to steal your attention to get away from your core power, from your core truth, and your innate ability to navigate your purpose and co-create. So like, how has meditation helped you to align back into the present moment portal?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yes.
Because what you just said, I could not say it better. I mean, to bring your attention back to the present moment is a centering act. But here's what I find fascinating. So many people I work with say, well, I can't meditate. They also say, I can't speak on stage. I can't meditate. What they really mean is this: when they get present and center on the moment. And what we mean by that is this: when you sit on the mat and you set your phone away and you decide to bring your attention to right now and right here, and allow your attention to leave the past and what happened and leave the present, what's going to happen, and you collapse your attention completely into this moment. It's chaotic and it's like standing in the center of a nightclub. All of a sudden the noise gets very loud. The noise in ourselves, I mean, the stories, I got to do my grocery list. The thing that happens when we sit down and meditate is you want to get up and get out of the moment. And so people say, I can't meditate because they're like, I get distracted. I feel like I can't do it. And that is the practice. This is what we were talking about feeling pain. I think the present moment for when we don't meditate is excruciating. It's excruciating. And that's why people feel they can't meditate, is because the level of almost physical exertion it takes to allow our attention to stay on the chaos until it turns into less dense noise and less dense energy and emotion. It starts to be fluid and it starts to be workable. And that's the breath. Riding the moment on the breath, simply staying by being present with the thing that makes us a vital life force, which is oxygen in our body, will sustain you in the present moment. And it allows transformation to happen. But it doesn't happen without giving it time to keep your attention on that. And so what you asked me about, like how do we meditate, or like why, it's we're operating from that center all of the time, but the conscious process of seeing and feeling and knowing what's in the center and who we are, what's in our conscious, what's driving us, it creates change, because our awareness that meditation gives us choice. Once we can see the emotions, once we get past the I can't story, and we learn that you're capable of great discipline, great commitment, and great pain, you're big enough to handle that. I feel like, Jesse, you just helped me have an epiphany. That was my first lesson in meditation, is that I can withstand pain.
Yeah. And I mean, I, th- yeah, I mean, I feel you're pretty humble because I know you've been meditating since you were 17. You've trained
Yeah.
with, Buddhists. Like you've really spent a lot of time in this. So it's a really important topic for me to pick your brain about and others, because I think I've been meditating for, I don't know, 14 years maybe. And I've evolved that practice, and the practice now today is more sensation based, the Vipassana type, because I experienced that 10-day Vipassana retreat and I sort of liked it. I also do other types of meditations, quote unquote. They're really self-regulation techniques that are like heart math uh, meditations. But yeah, I'm just curious, like if you started meditating when you were 17, like how much do you think that transformed your ability to have the pause and be a better actor, a better coach, a better parent, a better I feel like with the studies of meditation that are coming out, which to me coincide with psychedelics, it coincides with earthing, grounding, all these things that we do, because this is how on this planet, which is very chaotic, and then your inner planet, which is really chaotic, the inner weather, like to not be able to pause. And I have many people, family members, they'll just be like, I can't meditate. Like they can't pause. Imagine that. Like we can be on our phones for 4 hours a day on average, because that's the average for adults. Teenagers, it's what, 10 hours a day, which is what, 4 hours a day is 12 years, I think, in a lifetime. So you can only imagine. But the point is, like, we can be on the phone and we can watch the Instagram pages and all these things for 4 hours, but we can't meditate for 2 minutes. Why is that?
You know what's funny? I actually think that is a form of meditation. Even being on our
Mm,
phone, it's we're meditating on the wrong thing, in my
mm,
opinion.
that's a good
I
point.
view meditation as whatever we're present to. I mean, what we want is to be present to the space. I mean, you love the way you talk about pause. I think, yeah, like you said, meditating since I was 17. My first meditation retreat was a Zen retreat when I was 17 with my mother. And this, I've not returned to the Zen space except by accident over the years in different places I've meditated. But I fell into a Tibetan Buddhist community and I took Buddhist vows, took, Vajrayana vows. I've done month-long retreats in various places in the world to work with my mind and my heart mostly, which aren't different really. I don't think it's the longevity of the meditation practice so much as like anyone could start as of this podcast, decide to try meditate for the first time, and their brain can achieve what monks who've been meditating their entire lives have, according to an MRI scan. The non-meditator has access, there's activity in certain parts of the brain, right? But a meditator who's realized, who lives in space, who understands space, that pause, we're all in a free fall anyway. There's nothing but pause. The whole world, we are space. There's nothing except that. And I think we've gotten life so wrong because we focus on the density, the chaos, when we realize that actually the universe is just the space around the chaos. I know that sounds really heady, but the moment is fluid. It's slipping away. The moment that just passed for me, 10:56 Mountain Standard Time on Friday, April 4th, that moment is never coming again. Never. It's all fluid. When we accept that there's nothing to stand on, there's nothing to control, there's nothing to hold on to. If your brain can get around that, I think that's a really big piece of meditation. But just back to the MRI scan, when you become present, more of your brain's available. There's more activity across the brain, and guess what? More of yourself is available. I think the parts of the brain that get to be having more activity is simply bringing the unconscious online.
Yeah.
The veil between what we consciously know and what's unconsciously there becomes very thin when you put your attention on the moment, which you call the pause. And I love that. Tell
Well,
me
I
about
think
your with meditation. You brought this conversation. You said you're curious. I know you have so much to say about it, like what you know in your practice.
what just came to my mind is if someone, I think we're so disconnected from ourselves that, you know, I have a hard time when people say I'm an addict and then other people are like, I'm not an addict. I feel like
Mm.
everyone is an addict because we're addicted to outside of ourselves. And that's the greatest addiction is the outside. And
So
the the brain, your own brain, if you could just take let's, you know what it is? It's the language we use. The language is very manipulative and very triggering. So like when we say meditation, you have Christians, Muslims, all these religions that go, nope, nope, that's a sin. Meditate. You said meditation. But if we use a different word, it's like, oh yeah, I do that. Yeah, yeah,
like
that's fine. So,
contemplation.
so first of all, meditation is very triggering. So if we just use a different word, let's say self-regulation technique, let's start there. And then if the people that struggle with self-regulation technique or meditation, if you could actually explore your subconscious every time you close your eyes and go down that path, do you think you'd be on Instagram or looking at cat videos on the YouTube shorts which are fun and funny? Or do you think you'd be scrolling people's comments on Facebook going, see, or blaming the government, or you'd be probably exploring your own unconscious. But how do we access that? That's what's coming to me. It's like, if we could just explore our own mind, our own pain, our own wants, our own needs, and just be in that space of silence, then we wouldn't have to literally abandon ourselves every day to just go and numb out with foods, drinks, drama, all of these things. You could actually, and this is what came in my meditations, is how do we actually spend time learning about our own unconscious, our own mind. So it's not just like, so when you go in and you're like, oh, but I have pain in my back and my son hasn't talked to me in 4 years and all these things. Yes. Like there it is. That's your meditation. Like bring that out because that's the guidepost. And then the dreams will carry it. And then a relationship will come in to help. And all these, these, let's call them synchronicities, will start to happen so that you can start to heal it and you can start to work with it. So that's meditation for me now. It wasn't like in the beginning. In the beginning, it was like guided meditations and because my nervous system was so unregulated. I needed to just have some type of guide of an active meditation. Now I can sit in the silence, go through the sensations of my body. And in those sensations, I can be with, it sounds weird, but I could be with different organs, I can different parts of my body. And then in that space in between are the unconscious pain. So all of a sudden, the thought of something I didn't do or something that I failed, or, as a kid, I should have made this different decision, or I should have had a different parent or a different life or this, it all comes in the space between. And that's the moment where that meditation becomes a healing practice that I can journal what came in the space between. So we're not just talking about, well, I can't meditate, I don't have time. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't have time to sit and thought about your own wants and desires as a human. The most important thing is like your wants and desires, period. And people be like, no, you don't understand. I'm a parent. I'm this. No, I do understand. Like, that's so important for your children, that you are going towards those dreams. You're going towards the pain so that you don't project it onto that child. So I think, that's meditation for me now. It's more of like this time to tune in, relax, and then allow what comes up. And I think nature is a great teacher of that. Like, you live in Costa Rica, so you understand, like, the Pacific side over here and the waves in the ocean is extremely powerful. Like, the tides that we're experiencing right now are bringing up 500-pound trees are coming and hitting the shore. I've never seen anything like it. And it reminds me of like how we're not in control. Like, we think we have control. We don't. So that's why you know, we can hire coaches and we can hire people to help guide us, which is really important and essential. And I believe in that. And I've had a coach and a therapist slash coach since 2015. I've had a therapist since like 2005. But why do I do that? It's because those in between spaces, I want someone to hold the space for me to talk about it without editing what I said or gaslighting me or smashing my dreams into itty bitty pieces, because that's uncomfortable for someone to receive. And so that's sort of my download about meditation and what it's become. It's to talk about, it's to go into the dreams, it's to go into the now, it's to go into it, even though I don't want to do that necessarily. I just want to be in a silent spot. But those come in, those thoughts, and I don't want to force them out, because it's teaching me, even if it's ADHD or PTSD or whatever it is that's coming through. It's like, it's a teacher, right?
Absolutely. Pema Chodron is a Tibetan Buddhist nun. She's a pretty famous teacher. And she says that our best teachers are our pain. And pain shows up in the form of a dramatic relationship or some crisis in our life. Those are our biggest teachers. And she's responding, that statement responds to people's dilemma about meditation isn't a bubble bath. Isn't like, I feel like someone sold me the wrong thing. Like, I thought meditation was a peaceful experience. And she said, it's meant to teach you. And you said something, Jesse, I wrote it down, about how do we access the subconscious. I feel like the emotional system has gotten a really bad reputation in society for weakening us to have emotions, when it's designed to point arrows to what your unconscious messages need you to know to grow to the next level. And so emotions are like a red alert. Something comes up. We can't catch it consciously. Things just happen. That's our emotional system. It arises from the subconscious without our seeing it. But we've trained ourselves in the society, like, don't cry, be strong, like, don't go there somehow. Just don't go there. Start to deny that whole process that wants to happen in us as if it's not natural. And I feel like there's so much lost and there's so much brokenness that's come in the world from controlling ourselves against, that's the resistance we were talking about earlier. It's like living in resistance when the emotional system was simply designed to allow tears to surface so that you can feel And the subconscious can come forward when we're allowing more of ourselves to show up. Like, to go into the emotion feels like you're falling and surrendering, and we don't have a lot of training in how to do that. We don't feel safe, I guess, because there's so much judgment around it. But what if it was safe to feel and cry, even if it's by yourself? What if it was safe to be so angry and to feel, so that you can get through the a red alert part to the wisdom that you're supposed to find out? And how many people don't get to the lessons? Like an example would be, relationships are perfect. And I just want to say something. You said how humble I am. I am not someone who has graduated from life. Like, I still struggle with emotions and practice. And I watch cat videos on YouTube. And I laugh to myself because my husband's like, "Why are you watching a cat video?" Because, like, it's funny,
Yeah.
But I am human like everyone else. I have my deviations in attention. I have to be sober because I know a lot about wanting to get out of myself. And I love the way you said that, addiction to outside of ourselves. I know a lot about that, but I've had to bring myself back to meditation because I knew there was more, and I wasn't going to settle for the ways I'm shortchanging myself and my potential we talked about. So what if the emotional system, and like you said, getting our subconscious online, was about diving into the safety of trusting yourself, trusting that the emotions are there for a purpose that's so much bigger than we consciously realize. And that if we fell into the emotional experience safely when it was time, we would be transformed in our consciousness of like you said, what I'm supposed to do now in this relationship. It came to me after this cry, or I screamed it out, and now I'm like at peace. And from a place of peace, I can say, like, I don't need this. And you're free, and you make a different choice, and life goes on, and you're bigger from that. It's my sermon about emotions. I mean, I really believe in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like emotions, energy and motion, right? What is an emotion? And like it's something that is like a lightning bolt that, you, oh, whoa, what was that? But it's like, no, that's there, right? That's there for you. Like be able to cry. I think it's really easy to see why we don't do that. It's been programmed out of us. We're not, programmed to feel emotions. It's like we're we're really conditioned to like get good grades and like don't feel your emotions, don't learn about investing in money, don't become entrepreneurial, like all the things that keep you really a slave. It's to be able to like feel the emotions is something you have to learn way later through the pain. And then you can learn it through different modes of healing. Like meditation can start to teach you, like, whoa, this keeps coming up, I better look at that. But I think what's really powerful with emotions is like connection, right? Like connection, obviously to yourself, but connection to others in a safe space where you can have someone witnessing as a mirror, like what's happening and allowing you to like cry and allowing you to, I've met in my life where I can be in a conversation and then I could start to talk about something and it's loosening this really tight grip of something I was holding on to. And then I can cry. And those people in my life are sacred because that is someone I can actually allow the layers of the rigidity to break down. And I think many men, especially women too, but men especially, they don't have the ability to feel safe to like cry because there's this notion of like, I got to be like I was in high school, man, or I'm from Boston and I got to be, and I know these people. It's like, I got to be tough. It's like, do you? You know what that's causing you? It's causing you autoimmune diseases. It's causing you physical pain. It's causing you alcoholism. It's causing you all of this turmoil. And all you have to do is feel it. And all you have to do is let that rush of tears come out and start to heal it. But I get it. It's like, how do we feel safe to let those emotions run when we didn't feel safe with our parents or we didn't feel safe in the environments and we certainly didn't feel safe in school? Like, are you kidding me? Like, school was traumatic for someone like me. And it's like it was because I didn't feel safe already. And then I had to then fit in a social system I didn't want to fit in. So I was like, peace, I'm out of here, and I didn't do it like physically quitting school. I did it in my brain, disassociating my reality, and lived in dissociated states. And so that's, as an adult, I have to watch out for is, oh, this is all happening too much. And then I'll dissociate. And then I become numb to my reality. And, I think like the feeling the emotions is what's the antidote. It's like feeling, oh, let me feel this. Oh, I'm being dissociated. Why is that? And you can think of the part systems like internal family system. I have different parts of myself. However you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the emotions is really powerful. And yeah, so I'm curious about what you're doing and where you're up to now, because we didn't really talk too much about. I mean, you started a school for reforesting in Costa Rica, and like you're doing all these things. And I know people can look that up and stuff, but like, what is your vision? What are you manifesting right now? You're doing all these things. So like, what is your highest excitement right now?
Thanks for bringing us to that piece. My vision is to keep practicing what I preach. I mean, truly, I want for my life to matter to me. And I coach people. I'm an executive coach for women leaders to speak. And I'm telling you, it starts with my practice, because when I meet with people and I'm training to speak in a workshop, whether it's a private client or I'm speaking on stage, I want them to understand the power of knowing what you've come through in your life and how it connects to what you do in the world that solves problems for others, and the value of being a voice for that and amplifying your impact to change as many lives as possible. And when I talk to them about that, um, I have to know my why and keep myself honest in myself in front of people, because it's very inspiring to know that I'm not here just trying to make a buck. I'm not just trying to grow a business. I'm not just trying to be on podcasts to hear myself talk. I have a greater purpose in mind, which is I want people to feel so clear and confident about why they're here, and that they can help this planet with their unique little genius spark that we all have it. We all have it. We all have it. It's just how we relate to ourselves and all this all unlearning all this stuff that's covering it. When it comes to speakers, it's like, I can't speak. I have a great business. I have a great, thing I do, a great podcast, but well, there's a whole lot in that but that we can dig into. I'm passionate about it touching as many lives as I can while I'm here. So I'm writing a book. It's called And Now You Must Mean It, the inner guide for women leaders. Excuse me, the guide for women leaders for the inner journey of changing lives. So it's about knowing that you have a call to inspire people at a certain point in your career to help your success be successful for others. But how do you do that meaningfully? What's the inner journey that you must take to make your success a platform that can reach a lot of people? So that's what that book's about. I'm working my TEDx talk. I'm not taking private clients anymore. I'm now training people in my method. It's called the True Influence Method, of taking people through my whole curriculum of knowing your why. What's your mission statement? Build your talk. Now, what's really your why? Building a talk from that, knowing your case studies and examples of how your stuff works, how it changes lives, what people can do about it. I take them through confidently delivering a message on stage. And then just offering those workshops. And I'm going to take it all over the world one day. So we're on the path to that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congrats on the book idea and bringing that to life. And it's it's just so important. I think the mission of coaching and helping people to find their voice, and that has been one of the greatest gifts I've ever learned, was through the pain of my addiction and my choices and the trauma and all the things. In speaking at thousands of meetings, it turned into me being a speaker, because I was like, wow, this is I realized like the parts of my story that I share that people are resonating with is maybe something I can share outside of the halls, quote unquote. And so that's what ended up happening. It became like, oh, and I did my first paid keynote this year, actually. So, yeah, so I became a facilitator for many years, training and helping people and getting paid that way. But I never actually just had a keynote about my story to, people in the, let's say, the addiction recovery space. And I had that this year for the first time. And I realized, like, oh, wow, cool. I'm walking the walk of the keynote of my life's purpose. And that's what you've been doing for such a long time and helping people to do. And I think there's many people who have incredible stories. Again, they just don't have guidance. They don't have the ability. And I'm a huge believer in coaching. I'm a huge believer in, I mean, it's just been so life changing for me, the people I've worked with and in the mentors. So like, for anyone's listening that's questioning like, oh, the coaching, that's a bunch of sham, that's bullshit. It's like, well, no, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here. And all the people that are part of Entrepreneurs in Recovery in this platform, they all have coaches. So, the guests I've had on it, and that's just to say there's people who can, really help you to go to where you want to go on the next step. And
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so I'm just grateful that, of what you're doing in that book. And then when you finish the book, but we'll have you back on, we'll promote the book and go there. Cause it's like, we didn't even hit half the stuff that, we could talk about, but
We have like at least 3 more episodes in
yeah.
us. You've got it. I wrote down so many ideas. I'm like, wow, we got to talk more about expanding on your ideas. You got me writing down about the human dilemma, going towards your dreams and your pain. You said both of those together. I mean, you've got so much thought leadership. I'm like, this guy, you, you, you have this big message and you have so much that you've created in yourself. I'm like, wow, I'm honored that we get to talk about this together because I've learned so much from you.
Well, I'm excited when you come back to Costa Rica too. And then we can,
Yeah.
yeah. And, it's, it's exciting to, yeah, to talk to someone who's really inspired by life, inspired by the now, despite the turmoil and chaos. But we know, like, in nature there's chaos all the time, and in the chaos comes the order, comes the beauty, comes in all. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, but it's like, what are you doing right now for yourself? And we don't do it alone, right? Like we need some guidance and help, and we need inner guidance and help, but we also, to have a platform to bring someone like you in to talk and get to know, what you're up to. It's really exciting. And your TEDx, when is that happening?
I'm still building the talk. So I have a TEDx coach, a business coach, and I have a counselor. And I wanted to say something when you just propped up coaching. Those of us who coach need coaches probably the most because our job is to be a clear enough mirror for the people we work with that we're able to be honest with ourselves to see them, And so I wrote down something when you're saying about people say coaching is bullshit. Coaching is therapy for wellness. We got therapy that diagnoses illness, right?
Hmm.
That's our mental health system.
Mm.
Coaching does basically the same work. Would you agree? But
Yeah, I love
focus
that.
positive fixations,
Yeah, yeah,
right? So
yeah.
there's a lot of transformation in that. Yeah, I'd love to keep talking with you, and um, I wanted to see if we could each grab a takeaway within ourselves from where we landing together at the end of this. What are you sitting with? What's a takeaway you're having in yourself after we've talked? And I'll answer the same.
I think the takeaway is the power of the unconscious and the subconscious and the role that it plays in our every waking moment. And I think that it's not to be scared of it, it's to invite it in, to have a dialogue with us, to be informing us of these parts of us that are so beautiful that other people need to learn about too. But we need to learn about it for ourselves first. And then that could be the greatest journey of a lifetime is, instead of going outside of ourselves and reading 300 books, like you could read the book of your own subconscious. That's what came to me. What about you?
Yes, good. That's good. Yeah. I agree. I'm sitting with the power of a conversation where we're both very curious that can pull out so much wisdom from each other. And I'm looking at we talk about connection in the world. This is an example of when we're both interested in what's here, what's there, what's here. So much powerful thought coming out of that. That's gold. And this is really going to give people something provocative and hopefully move the needle. And I'm so grateful for that we can create that space.
I love that. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things to do is connect to inspiring people like you, and just the synergy and the sparks that happen in the conversations, right? That we don't even know are coming. And I don't know, this is not scripted, right? So it's really exciting. And I'm excited to, well, first of all, how can people work with you and find the work you've done and what you're doing, what you're up to?
Yes. I'm on the socials. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn because that's where my client base is. I'm also on Instagram more personally. I'm an artist too. So I kind of put some of my clay work out there. Just fun stuff. My website is joannahortonmcpherson.com. My company is Women of Influence. It can be found through there. I'm currently building an online space where people can workshop their talk on any part of the journey, whether you've never spoken before, whether you're a seasoned speaker. This is a community that's intimate and it's professional, because we got to go deep and have it be safe to really work on our message with people who are also in the arena. There's no people on the sidelines here. So we're all in it together. So I want to generate positive value for those of us in that space. So it's just a virtual meeting. You can sign up for my community there. And I'm offering special sessions. So I'm going to give every month a couple hour training on parts of the feature of an inspiring speaker, whether it's working with imposter syndrome, knowing your why, stage presence, like working in the moment, how to own a room. What does that mean to even own a stadium? How do you do that? So I walk people through just special sessions, special topics as well. All that's available on the website.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah, it's right up my alley. And people who are listening, definitely check out Joanna's website. It's pretty impressive. I really like your site a lot. And yeah, just what you're doing, and it's inspiring. I can learn a lot from it, and as I make my way into this deeper realm of keynote speaking. So thanks for inspiring me to keep going, and we'll definitely do round 2. And then, yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome. I'd love for you to come workshop your talk with us, because I think you'd bring a lot of value.
All right. That sounds good.
Do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Joanna. Thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you for checking out Entrepreneurs of Recovery podcast. We are so appreciative that you are here. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to the show on YouTube. Leave a review on iTunes and Spotify so more people can find the show. Once again, thank you so much. We have great episodes and content come out in the future. Thank you for being here. Have a blessed day.